Good afternoon. Welcome to our Q1 AMBEST Taiga data webinar. Today we're going to be diving into how real-time data is transforming fuel management and loss prevention, and we're going to get some insights from some of our industry leaders. My name is Jennifer Hill. I run customer success for Taiga Data, and I have here with me some familiar faces. I have Danny Ibsen and Abel Cerna. Danny is the president of Ernie Stores, and he is also the chairman of the board here at AMBEST. Hi, Danny. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Abel is the sales director at AMBEST and is also tagged with bringing new innovative ideas and solutions to you all as members. Thanks for being here, Abel.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get into the topic at hand about fuel optimization, loss prevention, and all the real-time data insights, Abel, would you mind going into a little bit about the AMBEST and Taiga partnership that we have in place?
Sure. So yeah, we've been in partnership with Taiga since early 2024. Some of you may have seen their faces. They were at our annual meeting in San Antonio. And they've also done some demos with several of our members, as you can see here. They cover pretty much coast to coast, all different levels of sizes as far as truck stops. They've got some fuel stops in there that are single operators and also some multi-site operators as well. So excited to hear Danny's insight on how Taiga is working for him.
Thank you, Abel. So getting into the topic at hand, Danny, as we know, fuel is the cornerstone of travel centers and convenience stores. And I wanted to know if you'd be willing to share some of the challenges that you face at Ernie's before you started using a data tool like Taiga.
Yeah, I mean, we have a unique perspective in terms of the fact that we do have one independent truck stop that will be competing with some of the larger chains on the big three in the truck stop space. And also we do have other regional convenience stores that are competing daily on a retail basis. And so we've been challenged with, as everybody has over the last few years, in terms of price elasticity and volatility on the retail level, and being able to produce, good pricing that produces good margin as well as good volume, staying relevant and current with competition. So if you want to go to that next slide, we can talk specifically about some of the items that we've been able to utilize in our locations that have really sped up the process for us to be able to make good margin play decisions. And, hopefully in long term has improved our margin play as we put that on the street from a retail pricing perspective. As you can see, there's pricing on here. These are not our locations, but similar data that we would be looking at from our perspective to make pricing decisions. Previous to Taiga, we would be tied into some of the apps and bumping around with FuelBook or Gas Buddy or making decisions on things that are being produced within those apps that may not have always been completely relevant to our locations. And so if you look at that, we have competition on average. That column right there is a column that I would look at, or I do look at on a regular basis, in regards to what is the overall competition doing and what is that average. And then you can actually click on that button and it will take you to the Gas Buddy site. And so you can be able to see that competition price from Gas Buddy and from some of those without having to actually be in the app. But where I found it really beneficial for me is to be able to go to that fourth column where it says rank, where you can actually go in and select by location those locations that you feel like are your biggest competition. Who do you compete with on a daily basis to be able to pull those gallons off the street and pull them into your location? And where is the price play that you want to be? Maybe sometimes you're not always going to be the cheapest, maybe not, but you're able to look at that, make a real-time decision based on that as you look at the rank column. And as you select those locations, you can pull those up and you can obviously see where you rank just by looking at it. And then by the time you hover it over and click on it, you can dial in to each location and make a better decision. Go ahead and go to that next slide. The other item that we've been able to look at that has really helped us out from our perspective is when we make those pricing decisions, how does that impact our business? So if we go up or if we go down, where does that look? What does that do? We're able to go into the fuel scorecard dashboard and be able to look at that by grade, by location and look at that and say, okay, where are we up? Where are we down? Maybe it's a situation where we have a few more cents that we can do in a mid grade or a premium, and change that in our splits. And so we've looked at that from our pricing perspective, and it's really been able to help us give us a better look at what is impacting our business from that perspective, from a detail item, just trying to be able to get that to the best margin play that we possibly can. Again, we're trying to get the best margin and the best volume, just like everybody else. And I think that these tools have been something that's been very beneficial for us to be able to do that.
Thanks, Danny. That gives us a lot of good info from the operator standpoint. Abel, do you want to talk a little bit about the AMBEST perspective on this?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And Danny touched on a lot of things there. So ultimately, our goal at AMBEST is the mission of driving profitability for our members. So that includes the fuel as well. So they're looking for things that we can do to drive more volume into their lanes, and this tool helps them do that. So what we have our sales reps out there doing is asking the carriers or owner operators that they're meeting with what it's going to actually take to win that business. So Danny having this kind of information at his fingertips gives him that insight to make that educated decision on where he wants to be with price and still be profitable. So that helps us kind of move the needle there in that direction, and it also helps us kind of see where we stack against the competition to move that needle. So that's kind of how we're doing things. Like I said, we're ultimately always looking for things to help our members to be more profitable, and this tool certainly helps.
Thanks, Abel. So switching gears just a little bit, we talked a little bit about fuel. Another hot topic, obviously, for operators is loss prevention and the whole word shrink. We've talked about it, I know, at a number of the AMBEST conferences that I've been at. And I wanted to see if, Danny, you would mind sharing a little bit of information on, how have you been able to use Taiga, or how have you been able to use real-time insights to manage this topic?
One of the very first thing, I think we're all interested in being able to reduce that shrink, whether that be, stuff that is on purpose or items that may be done through error on input or otherwise. And so there was a good look that we wanted to be able to look at and say, okay, how can we better have an understanding of what's happening at the register, and then how does that relate to what we have throughout the rest of the store. And so we're all trying to look to minimize that shrink. And again, what that comes down to is an increased margin play, throughout the store on our merchandise. As we improve our shrink, obviously that's going to be good for our margin, good for our profitability. And so if you want to go to that next slide, the first item that we really come up with as we got involved with Taiga was on the loss leader scoreboard, or the loss leader analysis that we have right here in front of us. And what it really does is takes down by location items that are being sold at the register at or below cost, and we take a look at that, and we're able to dial that, not just be able to see what's there, but as you click down, you can drill down to you can drill down to the actual receipt that was charged to the customer, and see what that impact is all the way down to that SKU item on the receipt. And it really brought out some items for us in terms of areas of things that we did not have priced correctly. Maybe there had been some increases that we had not incurred, and we had not pushed those forward as we saw those margins. And then we just obviously saw some ring overs and other register errors that were going on. And, as you look at that, some of those are on purpose, some of those are not. And we just want to be able to minimize those and be able to take a look at that and be able to use that as training to our managers, so that as they're looking at that, they're training with their individuals. So now we have more eyes on it. And what's been interesting is to see our individual team members come back to us and say, hey, this is ringing up differently than it should. And it's really helped us as we've had that conversation to push our margin up. And if you want to go to that next slide, as you look at that, discounted transactions. Some of the things we had run into a couple of instances where we had cashiers that were doing some ring overs, doing discounts that weren't supposed to be done. And I think we would all be in a position where we see that, and we were able to catch those and be able to have those either conversations or move on those items where things were being done from a fraudulent perspective. But by and large, it even just picks up those items that maybe are mistakes and things that can help us. And the more we can become perfected in terms of how we ring things up and the effectiveness of our cashiers will improve our margin, increase our profitability.
Great. Thank you, Danny. What about from a broader impact? So again, we talked fuel, we've talked shrink. What other types of insights or real-time information, real-time data has been able to assist you in making changes for increased profits, increased margin, and overall operation of your travel centers and convenience stores?
Yeah, one of the things that we've really been trying to do over the course of the last 12 months is really try to look at the effectiveness of our rewards program. What impact does that have on being able to not just retain customers, but draw customers in? And being able to have that data available to us in Taiga and being able to go back to and see not just our in-house loyalty, but the loyalty that may come to us through our brand. We're branded Sinclair, so we have the Dino Pay, and to be able to track that and say, what is the effectiveness of those programs? How does that increase our business? Which locations are good at it? Which locations are not? And then we could then go back and have a conversation, for example, with those that may not be very strong with the Dino Pay, with the discount that may be there. And we can go back and say, hey, here's a way for us to be able to retain or get new customers as conversations that we would have at the register. And we saw a real impact on that because we've seen our rewards program start to move a little bit, as well as some of our branded programs as well. The other item that we've run into, and I think we all have those difficult conversations that we have with our vendors. And when they come in and it always seems like we're doing things on their terms and doing the things that they want to do, and instead of what the customer is really requiring. And so what Taiga has really turned the corner for us on is being able to go to those vendors as we're in contract negotiation and be able to go back and say, no, here are our ring totals, here are up-to-date items that are there, our pool margin with their product by vendor, and some of those things. Most recently with Frito-Lay, they came back in and wanted us to take a decrease in some of their items in regards to what they had on the shelf, and we were just unwilling to do that from that perspective because we felt like that was going to have an impact on the overall pool margin that we had with the Frito-Lay product. And in that conversation, we were able to pull it up on Taiga, show them what our current pool margin was, and if we did do a decrease on these specific items, that was going to be a decrease below the pool margin. And that pool margin at the current time was significantly less than what they were quoting us that our margin would be or should be. And so we were able to, in a position to hold tight with that pricing and be able to maintain that and push our margin forward. So, in a lot of ways, it starts to pay us back on the back end, and it's been great.
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Danny. Danny, again, as an operator and also chairman of the board at AMBEST, do you have, any specific advice that you would give the members as we look into 2025 and any kind of, operational planning that they have going forward?
Just look at it from our perspective, specifically in the truck stop industry, we have different forms of emerging competition coming to us, and there's different ways that we can look to remain relevant in terms of our customer and the fleets and those that want to come to us. And we feel the access to the up to the second and immediate data that Taiga gives, it creates us an ability to not only be agile, but also make short and long-term decisions that have immediate impact on margin and overall profitability. And, every day as we work through Taiga, as we work through this data, there's a data set that comes into play for us that maybe we hadn't thought of. And again, I think the more analytical approach that we have to being able to remain relevant with some of the emerging competition, it will help us to be able to negotiate with our fleets, be able to serve our customers better, and to be able to be better at what we do.
So Danny, how do you, with Taiga, members may not know, but you're able to look at it on your phone. You can look at it, the same thing on your computer. You can look at it from home, from out of town. How do you, are you usually on your phone looking at it, or do you wait to get
I'm
to the
usually on my
office?
laptop. I've become a little bit of a Taiga junkie myself, and I think my people get tired of hearing that from me because I will say, "Hey, I was in Taiga just a minute ago, and this is what I just found." And so it really becomes a point of contact. But the multiple access points creates the ability for us to be able to have it anywhere we are. And we have been in a position where the Frito-Lay experience. I just pulled it up on my phone while we were sitting there and pulled up the report and was able to show that to them. And so it was an immediate response to what may have taken us a little bit longer to go back and pull some reports from back office
Right.
or anything else from that standpoint. So, the myriad access points are great. Maybe my people don't think so much because they get tired of hearing about it, but because I have become somewhat of a Taiga junkie as we move through it.
Thanks, Danny. So one piece about Taiga also that I'll share is, and if you guys want to speak to this at all, is you may have you have current back office, maybe you use PDI, maybe you have S2K, maybe you're using something already. This Taiga sits on top of all that. It integrates all the technology that you currently have in your locations, your back office, your point of sale, any type of vendors you have, if you have in-house food, and it pulls all that together so you can look at it in one place. So like Danny said, you're not having to run a report to look at last month's information or last week's information. It's going to pull it all together for you in one spot.
And I think it's unique for us as well. I think it's part of what we all have that conversation. I mean, we've got our point of sale. We may have Trendar Smart Desk. We may have Fiscal on the diesel island. We may have our back office. Several different points of contact in regards to where we can get data, pull reports, and be able to look at it. The benefit for us from Taiga has been it's been able to take all of those access points, put them into one location and one dashboard, and like I said, every day, every week, we're coming up with new points of data that become meaningful for us just because we're able to have that information all in one location.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. So what next? So if Abel, if members want to get started and want to reach out to Taiga or reach out to you all, what do they need to do? What's the next step?
Yeah, just reach out to your regional directors. You can reach out to myself, Kathy Johns, or Gabe Kelly out in the east, and we'll connect you guys with Pam and Rob on the Taiga team, and I think Jennifer's willing to help in there as well, to get you guys across the finish line.
Yes. So if you're welcome to call my phone here, send me an email. We also have a QR code that will send a request for a demo. But again, you're welcome to contact anybody who's on this call or this recording today, and we would love to have an opportunity to show you what Taiga is all about and the great ways that AMBEST is utilizing it as well. So I want to, first of all, thank you, Danny. Thank you, Abel, and everybody at the AMBEST team. And we really look forward to having opportunity to get to know you and have a chance to show you Taiga. Any parting words from the AMBEST side, Danny or Abel?
Thank you. Just appreciate the time, appreciate the opportunity to be able to give our insight. I'm sure that as you get involved with the process and the program, there will be additional insights that I would love to be able to hear from you that you're able to gain as you get involved with the program.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.